Welcome to the first part of MODX Basics. MODX Basics is a video tutorial series that will showcase you the basics on how to use MODX Revolution. My name is Menno Pietersen. I'm a front-end developer, designer, responsive specialist, and my company is called Any Screen Size. What we'll do in this video, we'll be setting up a MODX website. We will start with a clean installation of MODX Revolution. And I'm going to add a nice modern theme, in this case one from html5up.net. It's a free template. It looks like this, very nice. It has a nice intro, nice sliding animation, some parallax effects, nice basic flat design, good looking menu. So yeah, it's a nice theme, nice template. I'm going to show you how to set it up inside MODX and how to do the steps correctly so that you have a good start for your project. So what we're going to do, we'll start with a fresh installation and set up friendly URLs using htaccess. We're going to set up our name for the site. We're going to create the needed templates. We're going to create the pages we need. These are called resources in MODX. And I'm going to show some general tips and tricks. So let's get started. So here we have fresh installation of the latest version of MODX. In this case is 2.4.0, which is really nice version. So when you install MODX, you get this screen. You can just click it away, and this is your basic system. When you start, you already see one error, or two errors, configuration errors. These are kind of security errors, and they're good to fix right away. So let's get to this one first. Your config file is still writable. On your server, you might not get this error, but since I'm working on localhost on my computer, I'm going to fix this right now. I'm going to go to the site. I installed it in this folder, and there's a core and a config folder. And if I make this folder to go to you go to the file config.php and you go to the details of it. You can set it to read only. This is Dutch. So just make your file read only, and if you refresh now, this error should be gone, and now the core folder is still accessible by web. And what we do to there is go to the core folder of a site and rename your ht.access file to .htaccess. At install, you see two errors. These are security errors. Let's fix those right away. You might not have these depending on your server and on your configuration. I'm working on localhost using WAMP. So if I need to go to a file, I just can go to my computer folder. But you might need to go to your server using FTP or SFTP. So let's first make the config file not writable. So I go to my site and then to core, config, and then there's the config folder, and this file should not be writable. So just go to details, and this is Dutch, the language, and just make it read only. And if you refresh, it should be gone. Next one is the core folder is accessible by web. To fix this, we need to go to the core folder, and you see an ht.access file here. You can open it. I like to just remove this first part and just deny everything. I'm not sure why they have it like they do. I'd like to totally deny access to this whole folder, because there's no reason the internet should have access to your core folder. And next, save the file not as ht.access but to .htaccess. And so .htaccess. Save it. You can close it. And I like to remove the old one. So if we refresh now, the errors are gone. So first part, let's create our good name for our site. So go to the cogwheel icon here and to system settings. And here you can filter to all kinds of settings. So you can just go to filter and filter for site. And you here see site name. In this case, let's call it our site. And if you now click on the logo, you'll see our site here. Next, what we want to do is activate friendly URLs. This means we want, if somebody goes to our site, we don't want to have ugly URLs, we just want to have the name of the page in the URL. To do this, we will need to go to our site, and there's again an htaccess file. Open it and save it again in the same location as .htaccess. And once you do, you can either remove the old one, the ht.access, or make a backup, save it somewhere. I'm going to remove it, but it's probably better to make a backup of it. So once we have that, we can simply go to our site settings again, system settings, and this time filter by area for friendly URL. If you scroll down, you see here use friendly URLs. You can click yes. And there's another one, use friendly alias path. I like to set that to yes as well. So let's explain what this does. We now have a homepage, which if you right click, you can view. This is the default homepage, which is just a blank page. Let's create another page. There's an icon here for a new document. Let's call it our page. Doesn't really matter. And click on published. So we have an our page, and if you click on save and then view, you can see the page. And here you see that the URL is nice. It's called our page, the title of it. It's not called ID/1 or something like that. To make it even nicer, I like to not have here HTML.html. I actually prefer if it's just our page. So let's do that. Let's go to content types. And for HTML, let's just remove that and just add a slash. And if we now go to manage clear cache and refresh our page, or actually just go to our page, it will appear, and with a slash it will work as well. A .html will also work. Click on our page again, and if we view this time, it says our page with a slash behind it. So that's really nice now. The URL looks good, and we have two pages set up, and the site name is correct. It's called our site. So next, how do we download a theme and add it in our system? So I really like html5up.net. They have some really clean, nice free templates. And let's pick Spectral. It's this site. So I just click free download. I did already. And I have it in my source files here. So you get a zip file. I unzipped the files and they're here. So I'm just gonna copy the whole thing, including the folder. And I'm just gonna go to my site. I'm gonna go to assets, components, and I'm gonna create a folder name for our project. Or actually I can just paste it in. It's called HTML5 Spectral, but we're gonna call it our site because that's our project name. So now we have a folder in assets, components called our site, and here are all those files. Perfect. So let's have a look at it. If we there's an assets folder inside the EDs with CSS, some fonts, some JavaScript, and Sass. Sass is a preprocessor for CSS. It actually generates your CSS. So if you want to change this theme, you can probably use Sass better. But there's probably some documentation for the theme here. There's here a README. It's probably explained here. If we open the index file, there's just a nice theme, basic setup. I didn't build it, so probably fine. And it should work, of course, if you drag it in the browser. The page should work. So this is a theme, and this is not inside MODX right now. So how do we get it in MODX? Well, first thing we can do, we can just open the index.html, copy the whole thing, go to our site, And under elements, we need a template. So we can either change the base template or we can create a new one. I recommend you create your own and just change the default template. So let's call it homepage, because this will probably be the homepage. And just paste in the code. That's it. And here you can see we have our code in a template. Now the only thing we need to add to make MODX work is add one tag, and that's called the base href. It's here and it's in the files, in the link. Just copy this code and put it in your template in the head. I like to put it on top. So let's make the indentation work. So that's all we need actually. So we save our template, it's called homepage. We have our code here and just added base href site URL. If we go to home and instead of base template we use our homepage, which we just created, click yes. And if we save and view, there's our theme. It's working, except for the CSS and the JavaScript, of course, because these do not have the correct path right now. If we go to our code, we go to our template, our homepage, the path to the CSS right now is assets/JavaScript, or sorry, the CSS assets/CSS/main. However, if we go to our file tree, we moved the site, of course, so it's actually assets, components, our site, and then assets. So what we can do is just copy over that path. So assets, components, r/site, or the name you chose, of course, and just grab that first path and copy it for the script path, the main CSS, the Internet Explorer 8 and Internet Explorer 9 CSS. And if we scroll all the way down, we need to add the paths to the JavaScript files as well. So the jQuery, the Scrollex that has been used, all the add-ons they have. So just add that path. And if we save now and refresh, there we have our site and it's working. The only thing it's missing now, these images, the image paths are not correct. That's the same reason. So if you still copy that path to the folder, we can actually do replace all the images. So here you have an image, for instance, assets, components, our site, images. So we need to do that for every image. Just go through them. Not sure how many there are. Let's save and just refresh again to see if they're there. I don't think it uses a lot of images, only 3. So to check, we can right click, inspect elements, and check the console. If there are any errors, they're not. All the elements are found. So that's already we have our site inside of MODX, but only our home page. So let's see. In our files, there's another page called generic. So let's open that one in our file. And in this case, we need to do the same thing. Let's do it a bit smarter. Every time we find an href with assets, I'm going to do a find and replace. I'm going to do assets. I'm going to add in front of it our path to our folder. So it's going to need this. Replace all, and now all the links on our page should be replaced for it. And another thing we need to do is add our base href tag again to our generic folder. Save. To make it better, our workflow, I'm going to open our index file, and I'm just going to, because we edited our code in MODX, our homepage. I'm going to and this is one reason why, in my opinion, MODX is an amazing CMS. you can just use your code. Just grab any template you want, add one tag, maybe change a few paths, and that's it. It's working, and MODX works. Of course, nothing is editable yet in the manager, but we can fix that quite easily. But for now, we have a home page in our manager. So what's the next step? Let's see what we were going to do. We're going to add more needed templates. So let's see what the site has. If you open the site in the code we downloaded, the menu has actually 3 pages and a sign up and a login, but these are not created. So we need a generic page that uses its own template, and the elements page, which is also a separate page in this theme. But I think that the generic and the elements page are actually the same. They just use all the different content. So actually we only need a home page and a generic page. So that means we need 2 templates, a template for each page. So first thing I want to do is to use static resources. I prefer to work in the code editor. I'm suggesting you do as well. It's just nicer to work in here than inside of the MODX manager. Also, I like to have physical files on my computer that I can edit and simply upload. You can use Git with it to have version control. It's better than working in the database inside this system. So what we can do is just copy all our code from our template, and we can go to our folder. It's my site, assets, components, our site. And instead of here, I'm going to add another folder, and I'm going to call it templates. And inside here, I'm going to add our MODX template. So I'm going to create a file called homepage.html. And I'm going to just simply paste all the code in here. So this is now the code we have in our MODX system. So once we have it there, I don't need to upload it right now because I'm working on a local host. You might need to upload this file via FTP or SFTP. We can click on static, and then you select file system. And for the static file, you can just browse to assets, components, our site, and the folder we created, templates, homepage. So you can select the homepage file. And what this does, that now it has a physical connection between this file. So the code inside our template is now simply the code in our file. So if I change my template, let's say I'm gonna call it, instead of spectral, call it our site inside the code, and I save. If I now refresh the site, or I need to clear cache because the site will be cached. Let's manage clear cache. So now if I open my file and go to templates homepage, if I change this, let's say instead of spectral, I'll call it our site, save. If I refresh now, the code will be changed here. And of course it will be changed on our website after we clear cache, manage clear cache. And now it should. So now, because we ticked is static and found the file in our file system, the template homepage is now physically simply the file on our server. So that means if I changed it, if I go to assets, our components, our site, template, homepage where I saved it, and if I change the banner, for instance, our site, and I refresh here, the code will be changed. It will be say our site here. And this is the same as our page. If we go to the home page and clear cache, by the way, it should change. Actually, I changed something else probably. Banner inner. There it is, our site. I was looking at the localhost version of the site, sorry. So now it's really easy to work with our templates. We simply stay in our code editor, we save it, and that's it. We clear cache on the MODX side. So that's a nice way to work. So now that we have that set up, another thing we can use is chunks in MODX. Chunks are just snippets of, or just blocks of code, of HTML, that you can reuse. And this is really useful, for instance, for the header and the footer. On most websites, the header and the footer will stay the same for every page. So it's not nice to have to, if you change the header, to have to change it in every file of your site. So let's separate the header from our template. How do we do this? Okay, in our folder, our site folder, I'm gonna add a folder called chunks. And in this chunks folder, I'm gonna add a file called header.html. This will be our chunk. And I'm gonna simply grab all the header code from our template. So let's see where the header ends. Let's see, header. Here's the end of the header, you see. I'm gonna cut that out and paste it in our header file. And in the place of our header code, I'm gonna do bracket, $, header. Or give it any name you want. You can name the chunk what you want. So I'm gonna save this, and I have a header file here. So what we need now is to create a chunk called header. So we go to MODX, we go to elements, and here's a section called chunks. We click on the plus sign, and we give it the name header. Again, I'm going to use static files. You can either place the code in here or use static. I like to use static again. Go to file system and choose your file. So in this case, we need to go to assets, components, our site, chunks, header. Save. And if we go to chunks, header, there's our code. And if we now go to homepage, you will see this one, header. But if we refresh, we go to manage clear cache, the site will be still working, but we have one file called header. So let's do the same thing for the footer. Let's go to chunks again, go to our folder, create a new file called footer.html. And let's go to our code for the home page. Let's see where the footer ends. So as you can see here is the footer. I'm going to grab all the footer code, put it in the footer file and save it. Go to the home page again and now do that bracket $, footer, which is the code for a chunk. So now we need a chunk called footer. Go to our chunk folder, create new chunk called footer. I like to use static resources, assets, components, our site, chunks, and there's our footer file. Just save it, and there's our code. And again, in the home page, you see here a header, and if you scroll down, footer. So now the site still works. We have a header, we have a footer, but they're inside chunks. And this way, it's really easy to create another page with our code. We simply right click on the homepage template, select duplicate template, and just call it basic page, or whatever you want to call it, of course. So now we have a duplicate called basic page, and this time we can just go to our original files. So from the template we downloaded, so that's this one, it's generic, and save this in our site. So in our site, in assets, components, our site, templates, I'm going to save it as basicpage.html. And we can replace the header with bracket $, header. And we can replace the footer with bracket $, footer. So we have this file. You might need to upload it again. I don't. And you can just go to File System and simply, instead of home page, select basic page. This way we have two templates, a basic page and a home page, and they both use the header and the footer as chunks. So if we now create our page, which uses base template, we can now select basic page, which is our newly created page. If we save it, if we view this one, there's the generic page, which is part of the template. If we click on it, you can see that the URL is correct, all the content is the same, and they use the same header and footer as code. So now that we have that structure, let's actually use some of MODX to manage content, because it's a content management system, so we need to use our content inside MODX. If we look at our basic page temp code, there's some code here, and you could say that this part is all just content. So let's cut that out and replace it with bracket star, or I'm not sure the name of it, content. That's all you need. Save it and copy our content inside the content field of MODX as HTML. Save it now, clear cache again, and if you refresh, it will still be there, but this time if you want to change something, you can just change it in MODX and it will be changed right here. So we already have our content field done. So you might want to make this look nicer, right? This is HTML, your end user probably won't be using HTML. So that's also very easy in MODX. There are several options. You can go to Installer, Extras Installer, and you can click on Download Extras, and there are a lot of extras here. The most popular one is TinyMCE. That's a rich text editor. But if you filter here to rich text editors, there are a lot of them. I can recommend TinyMCE. This is good. However, there's a new version, TinyMCE Rich Text Editor. That's free. So I would recommend you use that one. CKE Editor is also nice, but I'm going to use TinyMCE Rich Text Editor, version 1.1 by the Boxer. Just click on download. By the way, while it's downloading, the best option for rich text editor is Redactor by ModMore. This is a commercial plugin. It's not free, but I can really recommend it. So go to modmore.com/extras/redactor. It's just 25 euros for your install. It's amazing. It's really, really good. But if you want to stay free for this one, it's just a basic tutorial. So you've downloaded it, click install, continue, and wait for it to install. Once it's done, you can go back to your site, click the logo there, go to our page, and as you can see, this is a nice editor where you can just edit all your files. Anybody who uses Word will be familiar with this. So we have our content in our basic page. Let's do the same thing for our home page. Let's open our homepage file. So go to Site Assets, Components, our site. And there are the templates. So open the homepage template. And now is the question a little bit, which section of our homepage, if we view our homepage, is there a main content field? That's a bit hard to say, right? Because there are a lot of fields and areas. So for now, maybe let's say that this is the main content field, the first section, right? The green section. So let's find that code and put that in the content field. So that's this section, the header they call it. So let's just grab this part, just the H2 and the paragraph below it, and replace it with bracket star content. Save it and just paste the content in the field here. If you paste it in, I'm gonna need, where was it again? Give me a second. source code, tools source code, and then you can paste in HTML. And it will be formatted correctly. So tools source code if you want to paste in HTML. So now we can save, clear cache, and it will be still working, as you can see. And if you want to change it, you can just type here something else, and it should still work fine, as you can see. Okay, so we have content fields in our templates, we have a header, we have a footer. But what about the bar, the banner on our site? So our banner has a button, it has a learn more button, it has a title. So what if we want to edit those? So what my suggestion is, there are several options for this actually in MODX. But let's do it nicely. Let's create something called template variables. Let's go to elements, template variables, and first let's create a category, because this section of the page is called a banner, right? So let's create a category called banner. And to keep everything nice and neat, let's first give a category our site as a container for our element. And inside our site, let's create a category called banner. So we have now a category called banner inside our site. Now we're going to create a template variable, and let's call it banner underscore title. That's the name of it. That's the code you're using in your code. And the caption is the name of it that the editor will see. So in this case we can call it title, or maybe also call it banner title, maybe better. And we can even give it a description. Fill in the title here. And now give it a category of our site banner. You can even give it a sort order. Let's give it 1. And under input options, we keep it as text, because this is just a simple, we're going to use this one. It's just a simple word, our site. Is it allowed blank? Maybe no. The banner needs to have something in it, so maybe we can force it to have something in there. And for template access, under template access we need to set homepage, because the banner is only used on the homepage right now. So let's save this, and once we have this saved, and we go to our resource in our homepage, there will be a new tab called template variables, and there's the category here, banner title. That looks nice and easy, right? So now we can just remove our site and put it in here. Our site, save. And to show this in our template, we just do bracket star banner title, which is the name of our template variable we just created. If I save this and you clear cache, and if we refresh now, this one is now our site. Let me show you. Let's change this to nice template variable. There you have it. So this way we can very quickly just replace all our code here with template variables. So this is a paragraph with some breakpoints in it and a link. That would be, actually this is more like a rich text area, right? You can put anything here apparently. So let's just add another one here, add another template variable, bracket, banner content, maybe we call it. So let's create another template variable. Go to elements, template variables, and this time we can actually, to save time, right click on it, duplicate, and replace the title with banner content. And if we click on it, we can edit it. So here's banner content, and this is called banner content. So fill in your fields, make it number 2, so it's the second in the row. And the only difference we need now is under input options, select rich text and check if still the home page is selected for this. Save. And this time, if we go to our home page, under template variables, there's another field here called banner content. And again, we can just cut out what we need. Save it. And under tools, source code, you can just enter HTML. So here we have it. Save. Let's add something. This works. Save it. If we refresh, it says this works. So now the title is editable in this area. Finally, we need a button and the learn more. So that's actually the same way. Yeah, you can create links for this. So let's create a link. Let's go edit this link here. It's actually not used right now in the template. Let's make it usable. Let's assume that you will always be linking to another page of your own website. So let's do -- star banner button URL, I'm going to call it. So let's copy that. Let's go to elements again, template variables, and let's copy the banner title. Enter your new name, banner button URL. And this time replace it with your code again. Choose the page to link to. Maybe something like that. Give it sort order number 3. Again, check the template. And this time, instead of text, you can select a resource list. And this will give you a list of all the pages you have. Let's say allow blank no again, because the link should work. And do not allow an empty choice. And you can actually select which links it should include, but by default it will include all the links of your website. So let's keep it that way. Let's save this and let's see how this looks right now. If you go to the home page, template variables, there's a link here now, as you can see, banner button URL, and you can click and you can see here there are all the pages we have on our site, which is not a lot, it's just our page. So let's save it. Finally, we need to change the name here. So again, just copy banner title and let's call it button name. Banner button name. Save it. Maybe upload it via FTP again. Go to elements, template variables, copy or duplicate the existing template variable, replace it with the name, and then you can click on it and just replace the information. Banner button name. Something like that. Give it number 4 because it's the 4th item we have. This time it's text again, it's just a normal text field, it should not be allowed blank, and the template should be homepage. Save it. And if we can go to home now, we see it on the template variables. There's our final field to our page. Let's save it and refresh. And there we have it, our button, and it will actually go to our page. No, it doesn't. And as you can see, the link goes to 2. What could that be? Actually, 2 is just the number of our page. So what we are doing here is this only provides you the number, page ID of the page. To make it a link, we have to wrap it again in this two brackets and a curly sign, and then close it again. This is actually a link, a fixed link in MODX. If you want to link to the home page, which is page ID number 1, you would do this, bracket, curly 1. That's a link to the home page. And the good thing about that is if you change the name of the page, it's like from home to welcome, the URL will change. It will become welcome.html instead of home.html. Because you use these type of links that are page ID based and not name based, they will always work. They won't break if you change the name. So it's a good way to work. So this should work now. We have bracket bracket curly sign and then the number of our link. Let's save it, refresh the page, and if we now open the home page, there's our new stage, and our page will link to our page, as you can see. So we created template variables for the stage, we have a content area, and we have nice templates. Finally, what I'd like to show as a basic setup for MODX is some critical things that a lot of people forget, is that's an error page. So let's just add a new document. Let's call it error, or error page might be better. Let's hide it from the menus because you probably won't want to show the page, and it should be published. And as a template we say basic page. Okay, and maybe in the content we will say error header something. Something like that. Maybe add a contact form or a link. So let's save this page. Let's make sure that it works. So view, and as you can see here, there's an error page and it says something went wrong. Oops. We haven't changed the stage yet, but you can do that the same way as we did for the home page. So this doesn't do anything yet. We just created the page. So to finalize this, we go to System Settings. We go to Filter by Area. We do Site. And here's a lot of settings, but there are a few there's an error page, this one here. And let's just give this the page ID of the new error page, which in our case is number 3, as you can see here. So that's our new error page. You can use the site unavailable page, the same one, or you can create another page for that if you want. This is good if the site is offline. And there's also a page called unauthorized. Let's say you have secure areas that are not allowed. Well, you can create a separate page for that, or just make it the same. So let's clear cache again, and let's test this. So let's say somebody wants to go to page blah 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 that doesn't exist. They go to the error page, as you can see. We just created. So that's good. Well, I think that's it. We created a nice page, a nice website in MODX. We integrated a theme, a template, we created a header, we created an error page, we added some content areas and some template variables. I hope you like these. In our next session, we're going to set up template and chunk configurations. We're going to change our header and our footer to be more advanced, to include some more special features. And we're gonna show how to integrate images in a nice way. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.